The first thing I want to say is I am not an expert at what I'm about to do. This is a trial series for a much larger video of where I try to create 100,000 jobs in a given industry. So for this experiment, this series, we're going to call it the 5,000 job series, where we create 5,000 jobs in a given industry. For this series, I'm going to take the 5W approach. 5 Ws, what the hell are 5 Ws? The 5 Ws are who, what, where, when, why. This will be my guiding principles in every topic, in every industry I try to dissect and create jobs for. And who am I? I am Stanley Nje here. I'm 31 years old. I'm a content creator from Kenya. Where these jobs are being created for a fictional Kenya. When this could happen today, tomorrow, it could happen with a snap. Why? I think I'm tired of arguing with people about how optimistic to be about this country. And I am putting my optimism on the hope that Kenya can be a great country, Kenya can employ, unemployment can cease being a problem in this country by leaders innovating and creating new jobs in innovating ways. That is what this series is going to be about. It's the 5,000 series, and as mentioned, it is a build-up to a much larger series that hopefully in the future I'll have the skills and the resources to put together. The 5,000 series is a bit rough, will be rough around the edges. Animations wouldn't be as clean, but I think the point will be home, and hopefully you enjoy the stories, hopefully you find them informative, and hopefully they inspire you to create opportunities for yourself, and maybe, just maybe, create opportunities for other people.
Honorable Speaker, according to the recent survey which was done in 2020, total unemployment, excluding those engaged in small-scale farming and pastoralists, is estimated to have increased from 17.3 million to 18.1 million.
You are expecting to everybody here is expecting to know that. So just
Mr. Speaker, forgive me.
If you did not make those allegations, I mean, you just say so.
Kenya has the largest, most diversified economy and the second largest population in East Africa. It also has a young, ambitious and well-educated workforce eager to contribute to the development of the country. But in contrast, Kenya has the highest youth unemployment rate in East Africa at 39%. Ladies and gentlemen, one of the greatest challenges facing Kenya today is how to have decent lives and contribute to their country.
When a supermarket in Eldoret advertised 20 job openings in July, more than 500 youth turned out for the opportunity. This is just one of the numerous visible indicators of unemployment in Kenya.
We sit around and wait for the government to come. The government will always be there. It has always been there and it will forever be there. So as youth, let us be more of citizens rather than being subjects.
Now, the government says that a lot of opportunities exist for youth to create their own jobs, but young people in Kenya insist that the so-called great opportunities only exist on paper. Stanley dug deeper into the youth unemployment and poverty crisis in Kenya.
The government is cognizant of the fact that unless we invest in the potential of our youth and women, we will not achieve real demographic and gender dividend in the future. Therefore, in this budget, I'm allocating 850 million for the Wezo Fund, 500 million for the Women Enterprise Fund, and 300 million for...
This is an opportunity for you to, you just tell us what happened.
And the member purported that I actually referred to some people as cowards and traitors and sellouts.
Enough to have a plan. We must have a Marshall Plan on youth unemployment. And that is why we are saying we're going to deploy 200 billion shillings to build industry around leather, around textile, around wood industry, agro-processing, value addition, manufacturing, so that we can create opportunities for the young people of our country. And every young person can marshal their talents, their energy, their knowledge in driving the economy of our country, and every young person can have hope.
They promised improved infrastructure, better access to healthcare and sanitation, and all of them consistently promised one thing: more jobs, particularly for young people. So how exactly did they do? Well, over the
1 in every 5 Kenyan youth is jobless. And
Kenya's unemployment rate has doubled over the past 3 months, from 5.2% to 10.4%, according to a report from the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics.
Kenyans are used to cry to the government for help. Even me, I used to cry. But when I realized that the government is just there to serve the whole nation, but opportunities are lying with us, it is only about us opening our eyes and realizing them. Then we just make a difference.
And as we get into this video, a lot of assumptions are going to be made. There's a principle I learned in university. I always think about my economics teacher and how insistent on this principle, and that is the principle of ceteris paribus. This is all factors held constant. In the real world, there are variables that I can't predict, I can't anticipate, but for the purposes of storytelling and imagineering, I want you to go with me. Don't try to correct me, don't try to say I'm wrong, just go with me. Ceteris paribus. Welcome to the first episode of the 5000 series. We'll call this episode the Ministry of Content. From the small snippets of news forums that I've put together, I hope they aren't too controversial. But what I was trying to illustrate with that segment is there are divergent opinions on how jobs should be created. On one hand, there are people who are saying the government should create the jobs, and the other one is people should employ themselves. And both of these are true in equal measure, that the government has a role in creating jobs, but as individuals, we also have the responsibility of making ourselves employable. When I look at the biggest gaps in how government runs today, is it doesn't do a very good job of communicating with its people. It does a lot of projects, but it doesn't do a good job of communicating the things it does for its people. That is why for the first episode of this 5000 series is what I will call the Ministry of Content, a novel government ministry that is designed to create employment for people working in the creative sector, a sector that I believe could, in the near future or future of this country, in the reality of this country, employ millions, if not tens of millions of people, because it is a job that has it's an industry that has so many jobs and so many opportunities, evidenced by industries such as the American movie industry, the Indian movie industry, the Chinese movie industry, the Korean movie industry. All these industries show that content is king. They all say content is king, and that is why the first episode is the Ministry of Content. That was quite the introduction. Let's get straight into the video. Ministry of Content. I hope you'll enjoy this video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Really share this video if you find it informative, or if you find someone else will find it informative, share it with them. The bigger the community becomes, the more excited I am to make more content like this, and I have so many ideas. So subscribe to the channel and let's discover stuff together. So, Ministry of Content. I think I will start with the structure. Again, and as we get into the video, I want you to remember the principle of ceteris paribus. This is just my imagination and a lot of borrowed things from the real world, and I hope it makes for an exciting story, because all this is a story and seeds to plant in your mind to plant in the mind of people like you, people that are optimistic about our country, Kenya. So let's have fun with this. So go with me, Ceteris Paribus. So I envision the Ministry of Content also might be referred to as a MOC in future videos or the rest of this video. I envision it to have two main structures. This is the fiction and non-fiction structures. And a little caveat to do with propaganda, which would be a mix of fiction and non-fiction, which would be the government pushing its own agenda. But for the purposes of this video, we're going to focus on fiction and non-fiction. I think the stories that the government tells or government agencies tell should always be non-fictional. However, we are looking to employ storytellers, we are looking to give employment to people. So relying always on reporting what is news and people are already tired of news. We want to make stories of our own. We want to tell stories that are Kenyan. And this can be done by having non-fiction story. This can be done by having fictional storytellers distributed across the country, gathering stories on the ground, telling exciting made-up stories that are based on our own inspiration. Enough about Sleeping Beauty, enough about the real little pig is blowing up the house. Let us tell stories of Mekatilili. See, I can't even come up with other names, but let's tell these stories. So before I get too excited, the structure of the Ministry of Content is going to be broken down into two main categories, which is the fiction and non-fiction sections. And the labor that will be employed will be based on these two main structures. The Ministry of Content is designed to have presence in every single county. All 47 counties in the country will have a presence of the Ministry of Content. However, all this will be managed at a national level. So at the very high level, which I'm calling the National Head Office, we'll have the National Content Manager and two Assistant Content Managers. Each Assistant Content Manager will focus on either the fiction or the non-fiction section of the ministry. And also at the national level, we shall have an Office Assistant, a Comp Controller, and a Comp Controller will be defined in the next slide, and Office Assistant, and each of the Assistant National Managers will have Office Assistants. The structure is designed to be as nimble as possible. A lot of these roles could be expanded, but from my vision to make this video as simple as possible, we shall go with a minimalist structure. I shall outline some of the roles each person plays, and in a real life scenario, some of these roles could be expanded, but I'm using my limited knowledge in how government ministries work and my understanding of how human resource can be managed, and putting together a team that could run the Ministry of Content. A comptroller is a high-level executive that oversees the accounting tasks and financial reporting procedures of an organization. The comptroller oversees all accounting, including accounts receivable, payroll, loan transactions, etc. In summary, a comp controller is like an accountant with additional functions, with an executive function. I want to minimize the number of people that are responsible for managing the finances of the organization, and that is why instead of having an accountant and other roles duplicated, we have a comptroller. Those in the financial industry would be able to advise on whether a comptroller is the right person for this job or not. But as far as our story is concerned, this is the role we are going to give to manage the finances. So to summarize the structure at the National Head Office level, we have the National Content Manager, and the National Content Manager will be assisted by the Assistant National Content Manager, who is responsible for fiction, and Assistant National Content Manager, who is responsible for the non-fiction branch of the ministry. Other additional offices within the National Office, or the National Head Office, is the Office Assistant to the fiction department, and the Office Assistant to the non-fiction department. The financial responsibility will be managed by the National Comptroller, who is not only responsible for the financials of the head office, but is also responsible for the finances, for overseeing the finances of all the 47 counties. Each county will also have a comptroller, but the structure of the county level departments of the ministries will be outlined in the next slide. At the county level, we also have we have a county content manager. The county content manager is responsible for managing the fiction and non-fiction branches of the county level department. At this level, we still have an assistant manager for focusing on the fiction side of things and an assistant manager focusing on the non-fiction. We still have a comptroller who is responsible for the finances. Under the assistant manager, we have the office assistant, the cameraman, the photographers, the editors, and the talent. And additionally, we have maintenance and catering. On the next slide, we shall look at the number of people that are required to fill each level before we proceed to look at the financing of the department and put that in context with the amount of money promised by the then Deputy President during the campaigns to go towards developing jobs for youths.
200 billion shillings to build industry.
The video is already a bit longer than I would have expected, so we are going to rush over the next couple of sections. And to start with, we're going to start with the jobs. With the jobs allocation, these are the number of jobs that are available at each level, at each job description. At the national level, we have the national content manager. There will be one of these. This is akin to the Minister of Content, but for the purposes of this video, we'll call them the national content manager. Under that, they will have two assistants, one focusing on the fiction department and the other focusing on the non-fiction department. And a lower level to that, we'll have the office assistant to the fiction department and the office assistant to the non-fiction department. And to control the finances of the national and the county level, to oversee the county level finances, we'll have the national comptroller. We'll head off into the county section, and I want you to keep in mind that there are 47 counties in this country. So for every position, you'll have to multiply it by 47. But to simplify this, I'll have a spreadsheet which will have the total number of staff needed to fill all the roles in the country. That is alongside their imagined remuneration and what that cost would be. We'll focus on one branch which is the fiction side of things. The roles will be replicated between the non-fiction and the fiction department. So to simplify our work, we're going to just go through one section. And in the spreadsheet, which will be available in the description section, you can find all the jobs and their descriptions outlined. Okay. So at the county level, we have the county manager. That is one role. We also have the assistant manager for focusing on the fiction side, the county comptroller in charge of the finances, the assistant manager for the non-fiction side. Under the assistant manager, we'll have the office assistant, the cameraman, one office assistant, 5 cameramen, 2 photographers, 5 editors, and 10 people who will be the talent. The maintenance and the catering would be variable, but we are going for a number of around 10 to 20, depending on the size of the county. I have a spreadsheet that I've prepared that will be available on the link in the description below if you're really interested into getting into the numbers. But as far as the pay is concerned, I'm working with a daily pay as opposed to a conventional monthly pay, but we can average to around 20 working days a month. The national county manager will make 5,000 a day, the assistant national manager will make 3,500 a day, and the rest of the remuneration is available in the spreadsheet, which is available on this video, and also a link to the actual spreadsheet is available in the description box below. In total, for the daily expenditure, we're going to be spending around 5 million a day, which is $36,000 US. Monthly cost for this labor will be around 100 million shillings, and annually it will cost around 1.1 billion shillings. When we compare to the number that was allocated towards
200 billion shillings to build industry,
we are only using a small proportion of that to create close to 5,000 jobs. And to get an accurate number of the total number of jobs this program will create, we're just going to use a quick Excel function, get that number, and get that done with this video. From the spreadsheet, the total number of jobs created is 4,146. That's a little short to the total number of jobs you had targeted to create, which is 5,000. But if you consider the reality on the ground, all these roles wouldn't be exactly the same number depending on the size of the county. So we are confident we will create confidently around 5,000 jobs. If you want the full details, get into the spreadsheet. I hope that's enough information. If it's not enough information, please reach out to me in the comment section. I'll be happy to answer questions. This video has been quite the challenge to make, but I hope to be able to make such sort of videos in the future. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't, and if you're watching up to this section, bro, you are awesome. Subscribe to the channel. Let's be friends. Na kwa hayo machache, ni mimi wako Stanley Njehia. Bye for now.